If you don't understand this properly, you're gonna lose half your revenue on YouTube, maybe even more. You might even go into debt. If you don't watch this video to the end, then your YouTube channel is gonna be in terrible danger. You might be facing huge fines of up to $42,530. You're probably wondering, is this the end of gaming channels on YouTube? Is this the adpocalypse times 100? Well, stay tuned, because I'll be revealing the truth about COPPA and what you need to do to stay safe on YouTube moving forward in this video. But before we get into that, if you don't know who I am, I'm Jay Carteret from jcarteret.com, teaching you how to be better at music, online business, and online marketing. This is the #1 spot for musicians and creatives that don't want to be starving artists. So if that sounds like you, hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, maybe check out the rest of the content on the channel, because it's really gonna help you out, especially if you're watching this video. So definitely do that. Now, my goal with this video is to explain the most important aspects of COPPA so that you understand what it is, how it affects you and your channel, and how you can move forward with your YouTube channel in a way that's not gonna get you a $42,000 fine or get your YouTube channel shut down or anything like that. Now, before we start this video, I do want to say thank you to Zed Plays. He sent me an email about this, asking, you know, how the COPPA law affects every niche on YouTube, how it affects creators and viewers, and also how to save ourselves from the fine, or at least how to confidently determine whether or not your content is for children. And that's definitely what I'm going to be doing in this video, as well as giving you a little extra information so that you know exactly what's going on. And I've got, you know, articles and proof from the FTC and all that sort of stuff to make sure that you're on the right track. So let's get into it. What is COPPA? Let's start there. Now, COPPA stands for the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act. This is actually a law that took effect in the year 2000, and it's managed by the FTC, which is the Federal Trade Commission. COPPA is a law that is meant to stop companies from collecting the personal information from kids, basically. That is what it's for. Now, you might be wondering, what are kids? What definition is there for kids? Who are kids and who are not kids? Okay, well, kids are defined under COPPA as children under the age of 13. So that is a kid. That is what we're going to be thinking of as a kid moving forward in this COPPA video, okay? So if you're confused, wondering, is my content for children? I'm going to show you how you can make sure whether it's for children or not later on in this video. But for now, just ask yourself, is my content for children under the age of 13? That should get you on a good, you know, spot to move forward, basically. So why is COPPA a big deal all of a sudden? Now everyone's talking about it. There's like 60 videos of people breaking down COPPA and making 5+ videos about the same thing. Like, they're milking the system, basically. It's out here. Why is it such a big deal right about now? Why is everyone talking about it? Why is everyone overreacting about it? I'm gonna let you know. So basically, the reason why COPPA has become something that we're talking about now, even though it's not a new law and it was put into place and made effective in the year 2000, is because recently YouTube paid out a fine of 170 million for alleged violations of COPPA, the children's privacy law, basically. So they paid a big ass fine because the FTC was like, what are you doing over there? What's going on? Are you sending personalized ads to children? How dare you? You better cough up the money. So basically they coughed up the peas, they coughed up the money. But the thing is, YouTube, they're out here thinking, wow, we're not putting videos up on our system and putting videos up for children and dealing with this sort of stuff and then, you know, personalizing ads to them. It's the creators that are doing that. Make them pay the fines. So what they've done is they've passed on the responsibility from themselves, YouTube as a company, to the creators. And this is something that YouTube likes to do, and I get it, man. I get it. Like, obviously you don't want to take the brunt of all this sort of stuff. You don't want to be paying $170 million fines. So this is where creatives are getting worried. This is where a lot of creators are thinking, wow, am I gonna get a $42,000 fine for every violation of COPPA? And I'm gonna get deeper into that in a second, but let's get a little more in-depth into what this actually means. So if you violate COPPA, you can get a fine of up to $42,530. And a lot of people are latching onto this number, yeah, because it's a big number. But honestly, I don't think that's the most important thing to latch onto here, because the big thing is, if you mark your channel or mark your videos as made for kids, you can lose up to 53% of your revenue, because the thing that's happening is YouTube's gonna stop serving personalized ads on content that's made for kids, whether you say it's made for kids or whether their algorithm says it's made for kids. They say our classifier, but we know it's their algorithm. You know, they say we'll use machine learning to help us identify videos, which is one of the issues that I have with this, because the algorithm is not perfect, the machine learning is not perfect, and you're not able to actually overturn these decisions or appeal them, as far as I know. But why are creators that mark their content as for kids gonna earn less money? Well, according to a June 29 report by academics Garrett Johnson, Scott Shriver, and Xiaoyan Du, I believe, they found out that opt-out user ads, which are ads that aren't personally optimized, fetch 52% less revenue than comparable ads for users that allow behavioral targeting. So that's not great, because advertisers like me want our ads to be played to people who, you know, we can target, who are most likely to buy our product, and we want our ads to be put on relevant content. Now, some people advertise to children, like they make stuff for children, so you'll still get those ads. But according to this study, 53%, you're going to be earning 53% less, because personalized ads are just where it's at these days. Everyone's collecting data, everyone's spending money on getting their ads to the most relevant person, the most person who's going to like their product the most, who's going to interact with their product the most, that sort of person. Like, if you've gone through YouTube advertising and you've thought about going through advertising, you'll see that there's a bunch of different settings that you can go into where you can basically choose who you're going to advertise to, and you can niche that market down and be like, okay, I want to advertise to someone who's interested in Xbox 360 games. You know, that's probably ages ago. You probably shouldn't be advertising to those people now, but you could like advertise to people who are interested in action adventure games, or, you know, they're interested in music production, or they're interested in entertainment and DJ equipment. You can pick these different things, and you can add you can add a few of those different identifiers together, and then find like your perfect audience, basically. But if the ads are not personalized, then what you're doing is you're just flinging the ads out to everyone. So obviously, if you're doing that, you don't want to pay as much as the person who's getting their ads sent to a specific person who's more likely to interact with their advertising. So that's kind of the way that that's working out over there. Now, with all this COPPA new resurgent stuff, there is an option on I believe it's every video that you upload, you get an option to say whether this video is made for kids or not made for kids. There's also an overall option on the channel level where you can say my channel is for kids or not for kids, and if you choose not for kids, it will basically apply that to all the videos on your channel, which I suggest doing if you don't make content for kids. That's what I did. The thing is, most people are scared of what for kids actually means because it's very vague. Like when you have 4 kids, you're like, what does that mean? Does that mean if I make Fortnite videos, I'm gonna get fined? Like, what does that exactly mean? Who is a kid? And earlier on in this video, I told you kids are children under the age of 13, but we do have some more in-depth factors that we can look into, both provided by YouTube and the FTC. So we're going to do that now. But before we get into that, it's actually really simple from my perspective. You really need to use common sense here, really. If you're playing like an 18+ game, if you're playing GTA Online and you're shooting a bunch of people and there's a bunch of blood everywhere, you could probably assume that's not made for kids. So all gaming channels are not over yet. But to be honest, there's a copyright problem, like there's a big copyright claim problem within the gaming community, because, you know, if someone plays the same game as you and they're on a specific network or whatever, their network can claim all the videos that are playing that specific game. So it's a bit wild. I can get into that deeper in another video if you want me to get into that, but that's not for this video right about now. So yeah, this isn't the time and place for that, but leave a comment down below if you want me to get into that a little bit deeper. But it's a bit wild out here for gaming channels regardless. But for example, if you're making a video about the best way to make friends in your preschool class, that's going to be for kids. If you make a toy unboxing video with toys that are made for kids, that's going to be for kids. Like, that's the way it's going to be categorized. If you make content for children around 13 to 18, which is like most YouTubers trying to make a living off AdSense, then your content's not for kids specifically. But the problem is YouTube is going to use machine learning. So, you know, it doesn't matter if you're saying it's not for kids. If you're using iconography or colors and that sort of stuff that seems like it's going to be for kids, the machine learning might pick that up and say that it is made for kids. That's the big problem with that. If we go over to YouTube's page where they're talking about if stuff is made for kids, and the FTC's page when they're talking about is stuff made for kids, they specifically say that just because you're using animations or just because you have bright colors does not mean that your content's made for kids. So that's great. It's great to know that that doesn't mean your content's made for kids. But because they're using machine learning, what more can they do? Like, the machine learning is going to pick up on a specific set of factors that are common in kids' videos. So when they roll that out to the rest of the site, a lot of false flags are going to come through. There's going to be a lot of videos saying, yes, this is made for kids, when it's really not. So for example, if you play Overwatch, that's probably going to say it's made for kids because it's very bright and whatnot. But you could make an argument that that video is definitely not for kids. I've said kids so many times in the past couple minutes, but let's look at the guidelines that YouTube gives us and the FTC guidelines that they give us to determine whether content is made for kids, so that you know exactly what they're saying over here. So according to the FTC's guidance on COPPA, a video is child directed, which we call made for kids, if children are the primary audience based on the factors described below. Children are not the primary audience, but the video is still directed to children based on the factors below. When deciding whether or not your channel or video is made for kids, you should consider various factors, including, which means there are more factors. These aren't the only factors, okay? Subject matter of the video. For example, educational content for preschoolers. Whether children are your intended or actual audience for the video. You can know if they're your actual audience by going in your stats, but I don't actually think the YouTube analytics can show you whether people under 13 are watching your video, because people under 13 aren't allowed to be on YouTube. Whether the video includes child actors or models, so are there a bunch of children in your video? Whether the video includes characters, celebrities, or toys that appeal to children, including animated characters or cartoon figures. This is a little bit squirrely because, you know, I swear SpongeBob appeals to children. So if you got a bunch of SpongeBob in your videos, that might be classed as, you know, appealing to children. But if you got a video and it's clearly not for children, maybe you're swearing, maybe you're using vulgar jokes and whatnot, and you have a SpongeBob meme, that's not for children, although the algorithm might pick that up and say yes it is. And then if there's no way to actually appeal these decisions, then you're just not making as much money on that video. As well as something I didn't really go over, some features will no longer be available on the content that's marked as for kids, like comments. You won't have any comments. The ability to comment will no longer be available on the watch page, which I understand, because honestly, if you've got a bunch of young people under 13, what useful things are they going to be commenting anyways? They're just going to be commenting a bunch of BS. So it doesn't really matter that you're losing that. The only thing that's bad is if your video is not for kids and now it's marked as for kids and now people can't comment on it. That's going to be annoying. Likes and dislikes and subscription on this content will not show up on public lists, which is basically, you know, if someone has a profile and they like your content, which is for children, it won't show up in their liked videos. If they subscribe to your video, it won't show up in their subscriptions, basically on their profile page. That's not that important to you, really. Overall, viewers will have minimum engagement options for made for kids content. Yeah, we know that. So let's get back into this. Whether the language of the video is intended for children to understand. Are you talking like, hey guys? Are you talking like that? Are you talking like that? Are you making everything like really easy to understand for children? Yeah, well, you might get flagged as you're making stuff for children. This doesn't mean you have to swear and do a bunch of stuff like that. Family friendly isn't the same as made for children. Keep that in mind. Family friendly is not the same as made for children. Just because it's family friendly does not mean that it's made for kids. You can make family friendly content that the family can watch, but it's not made for children under 13. Like children under 13, you need to understand the kind of content that's made for children under 13. You see all those animated videos where they're not really doing, it's just like terrible animation, but it's just made for children under 13 to just keep on going through the playlist and binge them. That is the kind of content that children are watching. The stuff that, you know, stupid people will watch and enjoy. Yeah, kids are stupid people, let's be real. Like Teletubbies and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, like stuff that's really simple and simplified. Peppa Pig, that sort of shit. Now said shit, this ain't made for children. But yeah, whether the video includes activities that appeal to children, such as play acting, simple songs or games, or early education. Whether the video includes songs, stories, or poems for children. Any other information you may have to help determine your video's audience, like empirical evidence of the video's audience. Okay. Now this is what the FTC lines out for you to know whether your content is made for children or not. The subject matter, visual content, the use of animated characters or child-oriented activities and incentives, the kind of music or other audio content, the age of models, the presence of child celebrities. I mean, this is basically the same as what we got over YouTube, except for language or other characteristics of the site, whether advertising that promotes or appears on the site is directed to children, and competent and reliable empirical evidence about the age of the audience. But I remember they say the determination of whether content is child directed will be clearer in some contexts than in others, but we can share some general rules of thumb. First, unless you're affirmatively targeting kids, there are many subject matter categories where you don't have to worry about COPPA. For example, if your videos are about traditionally adult activities like employment, finances, politics, home ownership, stuff that adults care about, then you're probably not covered unless your content is geared towards kids. The same will be true for videos aimed at high school or college students. On the other hand, if your content includes traditional children's pastimes or activities, it may be child directed. For example, the FTC recently determined that an online dress-up game was child directed. Secondly, just because your video has bright colors or animated characters does not mean you're automatically covered by COPPA. While many animated shows are directed to kids, the FTC recognizes there can be animated programming that appeals to everyone. Okay, all right. So that's what the FTC is saying on whether, you know, you're making content for kids or not. Now, as I said before, you know, they're saying just because there's animated stuff, just because there's bright colors does not mean, you know, you're covered by COPPA, does not mean your content is made for kids. But remember, we're dealing with machine learning here, so you can never play it too safe out here with machine learning. Machine learning is not the same as someone coming in and being like, yes, that's made for kids. No, that's not made for kids, okay? Now, let's talk about the fine that everyone's up in arms about, that all the big, you know, YouTube thumbnails are talking about, oh, $42,000 fine. Yes, because it's a great headline, yeah? But will you get a $42,000 fine if you violate COPPA? No, that's very unlikely. It's very unlikely. I'm saying it here and now. No, it's very unlikely. Don't listen to all the fear-mongering. People just want to, you know, blow things out of proportion to get more views. And because, you know, people get scared and they spread fear. They don't, like, really tunnel into reality and just face things head on. You know, they blow things out of proportion. People overreact every single time there's a new issue with YouTube. You'll see people saying YouTube is done, YouTube is over, everyone's gonna leave YouTube, YouTube's terrible, it's never going to, you know, be what it was, no one's gonna upload, blah blah blah. Every single time. Do not believe it. There's no point, because next year people are going to be doing the exact same thing. Don't believe the hype. They're milking this shit to get more views. And the fact is, the fine is up to $42,530. It's not a standard fine of $42,000. That just means that's the cap. That means if they come after you and they're like, yo, you're violating this thing, they can put it up to there if they want to, but it's highly unlikely that they're gonna come to, you know, some YouTuber that's getting 300 views and be like, yo, give us 42K. Like, that's very, very unlikely. So you don't need to be scared about that. I also think it's very unlikely that anyone, except for the very largest of YouTubers, will get a fine regarding COPPA. Unless the case can be made that you're deliberately making content for children and you're not checking the 4 kids box, then you deserve the 42K fine, to be honest, because you're just out there moving mad. So I think it's very unlikely that anyone who's operating under the want to not violate this law, I don't think that they're gonna get any fines, basically. But if you're making content for kids and you're not checking the box, that is on you. You deserve it. But that's not all. See, Andrew Smith, the director of the FTC's Bureau of Consumer Protection, did say, not only can we sue Google and YouTube for non-compliance with COPPA, but also individual channel owners and content creators. And once this order has been fully implemented in January, we intend to conduct a sweep of the YouTube platform. So that might sound a bit ominous to some people. However, the FTC Associate Director of Privacy, Manisha Mithal, says, one of the things I'd say about the penalties is that while they are up to $42,000 per violation, what we do is look at a number of factors such as the ability to pay and stay in business. So they don't want to put you out of business. That's not smart for them. Like, that's not smart for the US government if they want to collect taxes from businesses. It's not smart to put people out of business by giving them a bunch of fines, okay? But remember, yeah, it's not that hard to tell if you're making content for kids. If you're clearly tackling mature issues that kids won't understand or relate to, you're cool. Don't worry about it. You don't need to swear a bunch to make sure that people understand you're not making shit for kids. That's 2 shits. You can't get me. But that's just a joke. You don't need to do that, okay? For example, my channel is not made for kids. I've said that in many videos. I've said, yo, this ain't for kids. I don't give a shit about kids. This is for the big man them who want to do things in their life. Yeah, I don't make content for kids. I realized a very long time ago that I didn't want to make content for even 13-year-olds. Definitely not under 13-year-olds, but I didn't want to make content for 13-year-olds and whatnot because it just didn't make sense for me. I don't need to make content for children and whatnot. Children don't have disposable income. They're not a great audience to have in the long term. That they're only worth having if you like vanity numbers, like you want to get a bunch of views and all that sort of stuff, which doesn't necessarily translate to revenue, especially if your AdSense payments are really low, which I'm going to be talking about different ways that you can actually make money on YouTube as well, because relying on AdSense is really terrible. But stick to the end of the video to learn how to do that, so that you can avoid all this BS every time it comes around, pretty much every year, where, you know, somehow your AdSense is going to get cut away for some sort of reason. Like every single year it happens. But yeah, my channel is not made for kids. My target market is from 18 to 30. My analytics show my main audience are not kids. They're like from 25 to, I think it's 25 to 30 or something. If the audience you have is mostly made up of kids, then you'll have to take the hit and find other monetization options. You don't have a choice. Like, you're going to be earning 53% of your revenue right about now. Advertising on YouTube is just not going to be a great way moving forward for you unless you're getting millions of views, which you are making content for children who probably will watch your video 1,000 times. So maybe you are getting millions of views and it's not really going to hit you that much, but it's just not a great business model moving forward, in my personal opinion. Now, if you didn't already know, AdSense is the worst way to make money on YouTube. Now, it is the easiest, laziest, most unreliable way to make money on YouTube. If you actually want to know how to make money on YouTube without scrambling and screaming every time a new YouTube issue arrives every single year, then click on my playlist. I think I'm pointing in the right direction. Maybe I'm not, maybe I am. Click on my playlist full of YouTube guides on the card above. You'll find a bunch of information that will help you grow your YouTube channel and turn it into a real business where you can actually make money from it and not just rely on YouTube AdSense, which is the worst way to make money from YouTube. The worst thing about this situation is that if YouTube identifies a video as being made for kids, there's no way to appeal the decision, it seems. Maybe there will be in the future, but right about now it seems like there's no way to appeal the decision, which is bad and annoying. But if you're diversifying your income and you've got other income streams and you're careful not to make content that can be seen as made for children, then you'll be okay. And just for you, I've got a link to a course that I made for absolutely free that you can join and learn how I was able to go from poor AF. I'm not gonna say the F word because I still want this to be able to be paid in schools. When I was super poor, yeah, and not making a great living at here on YouTube, to where I was able to basically make a good living on YouTube with upwards of $3,000 a month and be able to chase my dreams and do what I want with less than $1,000 of that coming from AdSense. And I think that's a really important part. It'll show you the 5 most important steps to YouTube success. And trust me, AdSense is not one of them. Link is in the description down below, or you can go to jcarterray.com/free course. Now, I feel like this video has answered all the questions that are prominent that you may have about COPPA, about how it affects you, how it will affect your audience and all that sort of stuff, and how it affects different niches. If you make content for kids, you're fucked. Okay, like that's just the truth. Like it's hard times out there for making content for kids. I told people years ago, stop making content for kids. They didn't want to listen to me, so like, listen to me now, please. Listen to me now, because generally what I say turns out to be right in the long term. Please listen to me now. Please stop making content that's exclusively for kids. Remember, kids are under the age of 13. So if you're making Fortnite videos that are, you know, you're shooting at people, that's technically not for kids, depending on what you're talking about in those videos, the kind of commentary that you're giving, because, you know, there are kids making content on this platform, so that's probably going to be for other kids, isn't it? So those people are going to have a terrible time. But if you can clearly make it seem that your video is not made for kids, like tackle mature subjects, talk about, you know, your life and whatnot, as long as you're not a kid, then you can make a case that your content is not for kids. However, if you are playing Fortnite, if you are playing, you know, Borderlands 3 or something that's got cel-shaded graphics, or you're watching Dragon Ball Z or something, and there are animated characters or there's bright colors, then it might not be the FTC or YouTube coming in to say, yo, this is made for kids, But remember that machine learning is out here, the algorithm's out here, and the algorithm does not have context. The algorithm's just gonna see from a potential list of factors, and it's gonna make its decision that way. So you gotta be careful in terms of staying away from the algorithm, basically. But I don't think this is nearly as big a deal as people are making it out to be. Like, it's not that big of a deal as long as you understand it properly and you understand how to move forward. And I feel like I've given you the tools to do that in this video. However, you know, except for the monetization tools, which you'll learn if you go to that free course link in the description down below, and if you check out the rest of the content on my channel. So yeah, that's that. Question of the day is, how do you feel about COPPA after watching this video? Let me know in the comment section down below. I'd be interested if you're still super scared about it, or if you're less scared, or if you're, you know, in the middle or whatever. That would be very, very interesting. In the next video, you'll learn more about music, online marketing, and online business. I'll see you next time. Peace out.